Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
And beer.
and Beer. I'm Bill. This is my lovely co host, Sandra, and this is episode 137. Yay. Be,
Yay.
be sure to stay tuned after this episode because you got to hear Doug, Sandra's husband, do his Beer of the Week segment because nobody knows more about beer than he does. Nobody. So, hope he's got something. Hope he's got a dark brew for us because this is a freaking dark story.
Oh, I'm sure he does because, my husband loves dark beers. That's his go-to. So,
But oh, my loan was approved. I can now go and buy a dozen eggs.
congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. I've been waiting for that approval for about a month now, and as soon as we're done, I'm gonna go and buy a dozen eggs.
Well, we've been waiting on our hot tub to be delivered, and it was supposed to be delivered yesterday. And I was looking forward to it because I'm like, oh, it's MLK Day. I have a 3-day weekend. I'll be able to enjoy this new hot tub that was supposed to be delivered over winter break that wasn't. And no, it's still not in the warehouse. And I'm starting to get pissed off because I'm like, I don't want to make a payment on an imaginary hot tub.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's like I don't want to make a first payment until I see this thing and it's in my yard under the gazebo that we built over a month ago.
Specifically for said hot tub.
Correct. And ran the wires and all that. I'm like, nope. I don't want to make a payment on it until it's here. And our first payment's supposed to be in February. And I'm like, well, they better get on the ball.
It'll probably be here. It'll probably be there Tuesday, the day after you really wanted
Anyway, I'm
it.
gonna go be depressed now. I'm gonna go sit in a dark room
Well,
for my.
I mean, I don't know. They might it might roll up there today. Who knows?
It won't. They don't deliver on Sunday.
Oh, slackers.
I know. But
Eh,
even if it's delivered tomorrow, it's still gonna need to be filled up and then heated.
right.
So, I mean, maybe depending on what time they got it here, it would be ready by the evening, but I ain't
Well,
holding my breath.
here's what you do. You connect a hose to your water faucet in your sink and fill it up with warm water. Like if it gets there tomorrow, that way it won't have to heat up.
So anyway, folks, I will get 40 gallons of hot water in the hot tub and then we're out of luck.
Oh man. Hashtag, but I digress. Right out of the gate. But might need it because we are going in a direction that CKCB has never gone before.
Mm,
Mass demonic possession.
Demons are busy.
Yeah. This is a documented case that takes place in Miami, Florida. Yep. Just another Florida story. But this one is freaking insane and has lots of layers and twists and turns.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
a,
Is it really so hard to believe that a bunch of people in Florida are possessed by demons? I mean, let's be honest.
well,
We're shitting on possums and stuff down here. I mean,
no, but yeah, this is wild. On October 25th, 1979, students at the Miami Aerospace Academy in Little Havana all went into riot mode after the entire student body and some of the teachers were seemingly possessed. Something had gone wrong, and they all went nuts, destroying the school, assaulting each other, screaming things about demons. 911 was called, and the media dubbed it as a mass demonic possession. And we're going to take a look at the facts of what actually happened and discuss it. Don't worry, we're not going into the paranormal. This isn't a paranormal case because the things that happened really did happen. So let's get into it, shall we?
that's paranormal because of demons,
Well,
right? or mass hysteria. I mean,
Yeah, mass hysteria. But I have a. I'm not going to really call it a hot take, but I have a take on demonic possession versus mass hysteria, which we'll get to
oh,
at
I
the end of
can't
the
wait.
episode.
I'm so excited. I love your hot takes.
No, this isn't a hot take. This is just a take.
Okay.
Lukewarm at best.
Like the
Like your hot tub.
inside temperature of a tauntaun, lukewarm.
Yeah. It may smell bad, but at least it'll keep me warm. In the 1970s, the movies The Exorcist and The Omen were released. And some people even say that those movies were the foundation of the Satanic Panic. And after those two movies were released, lots of supposed hauntings and possessions were reported. Then this happened in 1979, just a year, literally a year before the Satanic Panic actually started. It actually was the catalyst that fueled the Satanic Panic, and it's not really widely known anymore. I mean, it was back then, but it just kind of disappeared off the, just appeared off everybody's radar not too long. I guess that was after the Satanic Panic kicked into full gear and they found other things to be afraid of. But
Well, they took it to the next level. You know.
yeah, but it was a massive and terrifying event that went nationwide, and America was ready to believe.
Hmm.
But the frequency of these cases continued to rise. The Catholic Church even, latched onto this phenomenon with exorcism. Cults did too. Mental illness had become demonic possession, and the devil was everywhere.
Well, there's a little devil in all of us, I guess, because I don't know how many mentally healthy people I know, but
Well, yeah. But the following year, in 1980, that book was released. Michelle Remembers by the Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Padzer, and his patient that he later married, Michelle Smith.
not Louis Pasteur, right?
Padzer. Padzer.
Okay.
In sessions, it was determined that Michelle was subjected to satanic rituals as a child and was able to remember everything as a result of her sessions with Padzer. I keep saying I want to say Padzer, whatever. The the book was considered to be true and it was a bestseller, but it was all bullshit. And as a result, the Satanic Panic kicked into high gear and went crazy for 10 plus years, 10 or 15 years. But had it not been for this case, Michelle Remembers doesn't become the crazy bestseller that it was. So, in a way, it's just the two combined were responsible for the start of the Satanic Panic. I'm not going to,
Oh.
huh?
Oh no, I just think to myself how one little thing can just snowball into a big thing.
Yeah,
It's yeah, I mean it's amazing how even if shit is completely fake, not true, once you get people on some bandwagon, they don't let it go.
right. I'm not going to go into too much detail on Michelle Remembers because I actually want you to listen to the Satanic Panic series that I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to make this part one of the series, but you're going to have to wait for the rest of it because I haven't started any of it. And also, I'm not going to burn people out with an 8+ part Satanic Panic series with back to back episodes. So I figure I'll do like one story a month at the most, maybe even a month and a half or whatever. So that works, right?
Yeah, that works.
I think that's a better idea than just doing it because I've got 8 stories um, on my board to do for this series, and I don't think people want 2 months straight of Satanic
I
Panic.
think that our bi-monthly demon
Yeah, bi-monthly would
yeah,
probably be even better.
fix, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So welcome to part one of the Satanic Panic series. So on October 25th, 1979, police in Little Havana in Miami were called to break up a riot at a high school at the Miami Aerospace Academy. Kids and teachers alike were all saying that they were possessed by the devil. The school was trashed. Many people were injured, although not seriously. This is just one of many bad things that happened at the school, which we will get to other things later. To this day, there are people who swear that this was a legit paranormal event. If it is, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, paranormal event in history. Sources for this are the documentary The Devil's Academy, Gizmodo.com, SomeWiki, FloridaStateParks.org, ProfoundlyPointless.com, and JapanToday.com.
Japan? Interesting.
Yeah, well, that's for extra information at the end of the episode. Timeline begins at 8 a.m. on October 25th, 1979. Miami Aerospace Academy was a military high school, and all the kids showed up for classes as usual. But 30 minutes into first period, a student jumped up and ran out of the door of the classroom screaming. Several students followed her, and the girl,
Typical.
huh?
Typical. I'm a teacher, so when you're saying this story, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that seems legit.
That
Yeah.
checks out. But the girl ran to the bathroom, and several other students followed just to check up on her and make sure she was okay. What's coming next is from testimony of people who were involved, and I'm just reporting what they said. She was spinning around on the floor, mumbling incoherent words, but the students were finally able to make out some of the words, and she was saying, "The devil is inside me." Then the girl levitated off the floor and began screaming. How do you help somebody who's levitating?
She sleeps above her covers, 4
4
feet
feet
above
above
her
her
covers.
covers. uh, um, the, the other girls who were in there with her had no clue what to do. But a couple of the girls who were in there with her also began showing signs of demonic possession. And so, I mean, is demonic possession contagious?
Yeah.
Apparently, if you believe this stuff.
Ah, I don't know. I mean, it's things where I wonder if someone started levitating in front of me, I think I'd be like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna leave this bathroom now.
But the teacher, hearing sobbing and screaming from the girls in the bathroom, she went to investigate. She saw the girl levitating and she panicked and ran out of the bathroom. And so far, this is just limited to the girl who tore out of the class and the girls who went to check on her, and of course the teacher. But the rest of the school was oblivious to what had happened. But that wouldn't last long. Um, in a completely different classroom, two male cadets just got up from their desk and started beating the shit out of each other for no reason. One of the boys went through the second story glass window and landed on the pavement, but he got up and raged and his eyes turned red. Once again, this comes from filed reports from people who were there. Uh, an administrator ran up to help the boy, and he was uninjured, and he literally made short work of the guy, knocking him out.
Uh,
Just sounds like a horror movie, doesn't it?
oh yeah. I mean that are you all right?
the,
Clearly not.
the students in that classroom poured out into the halls screaming, and the other kids from other classrooms began doing the same. Teachers and school staff as well. They were ransacking the school, tearing doors off hinges, breaking windows. Some were convulsing on the floor, screaming incoherently, and while others were running to the hills, they're just screaming. Some kids were attacking other kids and teachers and whatnot. It was hell. Some students and teachers reported seeing the contorted faces with demonic-looking eyes and heads spinning around like Reagan in The Exorcist, and of course they did because that movie had, was still everybody was still freaked out about that movie.
Did they eat split pea soup in the cafeteria that day? Because that's what I really want to know.
I was wondering that, and I could not find any information um, to confirm or deny that.
It reminds me of have you seen the movie Repossessed?
I think so.
It's a comedy. It actually has Linda Blair in it, where she becomes possessed by the devil again, but it's just a ridiculous comedy with Leslie
Yeah,
Nielsen.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
I've
just
seen it. I've seen it.
I love when she's making the kids, dinner. She's like, "I made you all your favorite split pea soup." And she's smiling, and then there's the background music like dun dun dun. She's like, "Huh, yeah, split pea soup."
But- and some of the kids were showing superhuman strength. I mean, it was literally hell on earth. It didn't take too long before 911 was called, and the entire school was pretty much a war zone. One responding officer reported that when he got there, what he witnessed was total chaos. Some groups of cadets would form up and destroy something or assault someone, and then they would split up and go off and form new groups, rinse and repeat. He said that it seemed like those cadets were afraid of something that they couldn't see, and others were by themselves just freaking out.
Hmm.
Some of the kids who were somewhat coherent were asked by the police who started the riot, and they all mentioned the devil. Satan was there in the school and was possessing everybody.
Are we sure it's not meth or PCP or something?
Oh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get
Because
there.
that's what I would suggest. I like, I don't know how many of these people were tested for PCP or something, It's- or
Well,
LSD or
we're gonna. I mean, everything that happened is plausible. I mean, yeah, and like I said, that's all part of my take at the end of it. Um,
Mm.
Many students had to go to the hospital and were treated for injuries, and the whole incident was over in about 4 hours. But the police, the community, the Air Force, um, and of course the media were all wondering what the hell happened, pun intended. um, were they possessed by the devil, or was there a more rational explanation? Explanation. The insane riot did happen. That much is true, and it would definitely seem like something paranormal took place. So, how could this happen? And what about the reports of superhuman strength combined with demonic eyes, head spinning around, and levitation? The guy who went through the window without a scratch. So,
Ah, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't wait again for your take at the end, but
well, there's a
I would
there's
say
there's a
drugs,
whole
drugs,
twist. No, no, there's a whole twisted
drugs.
there's a whole twisted story. There's no drugs here. No drugs. There's a whole twisted story we're about to get into. Some people think that the situation um, with the other events that happened there had something to do with it, but because there was abuse, both physical and sexual, paired with neglect, all had something to do with it. All these kids were traumatized, and it all came out when that one girl went screaming out of the classroom. But now we're going to get into those incidents and a little bit of history on the Miami Aerospace Academy. 4 male cadets were arrested for raping a younger cadet. Um, well, raping younger cadets, plural. A 17-year-old female cadet was raped by a male cadet who broke into her dorm. Another cadet was charged with raping a 5-year-old. All of this happened shortly before the riot incident. Now, school was closed in 1988, so there's definitely more to come, so put a knife in that.
Mm.
But let's take a look at the school administrator. His nicknamed El General.
What?
El General. I was.
Oh.
It's it's it means the general. His real name was Evaristo Marina. Uh,
General, like like la general.
yeah, that. That's it. That's what I was trying to do.
You got to get that the general.
Marino wound up in the U.S. from Cuba, and he was in the military there before the revolution, and he was exiled by Fidel Castro for his political aspirations. He came to Miami, where he quickly opened the Miami Aerospace Academy, and in the late 60s, this was in the late 60s, there he got off on having kids line up and salute him and call him general. He ran the school with a very strict discipline regimen, making students making himself out to be the role model and the standard that the students had to strive to be. Stolen valor makes an appearance because while he was in the Cuban military and briefly in the U.S. military, he never became a general. He just kept promoting himself and giving himself more and more medals.
Like you do. I mean, that's how that works, right? If you just give yourself the medals, you could be whatever rank you want.
Yeah, if the school was still open by now, he'd probably be with just some complete made up rank that like like supreme universal deity. I don't know.
Maybe.
What does God need with a spaceship?
Well, you need to ask the Scientologist that.
I just made a Star Trek reference that went right over your head.
Are you talking about Q?
No, I'm talking about Star Trek Five.
I didn't watch Star Trek, but
And you call yourself a Trekkie.
wait, what five? Like, is the name of like the movie? Are you talking about the movie or?
Star Trek Five, the Final Frontier movie, the one with Spock's brother.
Oh, you don't call it five. You don't say Star. That's like saying Star Trek Wrath of Khan, but I'm gonna call it Star Trek 4 or whatever. Like, what you do?
It's Star Trek Five. It says it right on the movie poster. Star Trek Five, the Final Frontier.
Is it the Final Frontier? Yeah, you
It's
chose
Star
to
Trek
say Star
Five.
Trek 5. Oh my God.
Wrath of Khan is Star Trek Two. Cubans in Miami who sent their kids to the academy ate his con up hook, line, and sinker. But the people he hired to run the academy were more like muscle in a gang rather than school administrators. He had control over these people, and they were more likely to do exactly what he wanted and not say anything. And it wasn't uncommon to see a handgun on the teacher's desk next to the lesson material.
I mean, if certain politicians get their way, I mean, that just may be how it is everywhere.
Might not be a bad thing as long as they're trained to use the gun properly.
Please, that's not in the budget. I don't even think bullets are in the budget. I think they're gonna be like, okay, teachers, here's your Glock. Unfortunately, you have to supply your own ammo, like pencils.
Or if a gunman comes onto the school property, just use the Glock. Just throw it at him as hard as you can.
You all have a projectile. Wait, isn't this a gun? Well, yeah, but are you buying your own ammo? I mean, along with all those pencils and paper and everything else you need to purchase, because we surely will give it for your classroom.
Corporal punishment was a daily occurrence there, and the students lived in fear, and they had to take this abuse without making a sound. There was no appeals process, and if a teacher thought that you were doing something wrong, you were, and you were going to be punished for it. End of story.
Okay.
One of the worst there was a major asshole. I mean, McKinley. um, he had a cricket bat that he called Big Ben that he had drilled a bunch of holes into, and he carried it and he carried it around wherever he went.
Oh,
Even
you take a good swing with a cricket bat.
yeah,
It's like cricket. No, and you got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
I think it's kind of that bat is kind of like a little bit of overkill just to kill one cricket.
But See, I made a Ninja Turtles reference. You didn't catch it, but it's okay.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
Casey
haven't seen.
Jones, cricket.
Yeah, I haven't seen those
Yeah,
movies.
cricket. Nobody understands cricket. Yeah, you got
I,
to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
I haven't seen those movies in a very like decades. But
Mm,
um, but I mean, even when he was teaching a class, he's just holding that thing, just kind of bopping it on his hand and everything. Just he was a pure
I
sadist.
may need to take some advice because you know what? I don't know. Maybe if I sit there with a cricket bat with drilled holes in it, the kids won't bother me. Like,
Okay, alrighty then.
that's what I'll do.
Hope none
That's
of
what I'll
you.
do in my planning period. They'll never bother me when
I
I'm
hope
on my planning period ever again.
I hope none of your
She's sitting
students'
there with her bat.
parents. I hope I hope none of your students' parents listen to the show.
It's just for effect. It's okay. Even though paddling still is on the books, you really can't do it anymore.
No, but no cadet wanted to hear their name over the intercom because being so because that meant you were being summoned to the general's office or the commandant's office, commandant. But the
Commandant.
commandant, but the cadet, yeah, the cadet was timed getting there, and if it took you longer than you thought that they thought that it should take you to get there, you're in even more trouble. And your best bet was to run there as fast as you could and just hope another teacher didn't bust you for running in the halls.
No running. But I gotta get to the commandant. Oh.
To make matters worse, over half the other kids that had been there had been kicked out of other schools. Lots of them were from broken homes, and some had even been abused previously. There were some kids who legit wanted to go career in the military and wanted to attend the academy because they thought it would be a good stepping stone. Be careful. They became stepping stones, all right.
Choices were made.
Be careful what you wish for. It didn't take the general long to just basically declare martial law, forcing these kids to be silent and 100% obedient with no excuses for anything less. And this was literally an early troubled teen industry camp.
Mm.
I mean, it really was. Um, I was going to
I'm sure
have
they're very well adjusted now.
I was going to have Nora, the TTI expert, on with us, but she got sick and
Oh.
lost her voice. But she's got the laryngitis.
I got the laryngitis pot. Like the black lung. I got the black lung.
The kids were brainwashed by discipline, marching in formation wherever they went. They all wore Air Force. The uniforms they wore looked like Air Force uniforms, but this was pretty much just a military academy. Well, it was a TTI camp, but they were broken down and controlled in very much the same way that the kids at a TTI camp are. They even had demerit systems set up, and literally anything could get you a demerit. And once you reached a certain amount, you got a date with Big Ben. I can't
Big
believe
Ben.
I can't. Well, that's what McKinley called the cricket bat. It's like this is Big Ben.
Oh. Hmm.
But in 1979, the abuse had gotten so unbearable, the kids began experimenting with Santeria and other occult practices. They couldn't come out against their captors, and if they reported it to the police, nobody would take them seriously. But they didn't start this randomly, though. They had reasons that we'll get to, so put a knife in that. But seriously, though, I got my ass beat by the dean of my high school in 1990. I mean, corporal punishment is gone, but it hasn't been gone for that long. And
Oh no.
uh,
Well, even in the early 80s, going to a Catholic school, those nuns were not nice.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, this was 79. So I mean, they were encouraged to beat the shit out of kids back then. Yeah. So what were they to do? they turned to the occult. And this wasn't just a handful of kids. This was the majority of them. They were using tarot cards and Ouija boards on top of Santeria, although I don't think they had a crystal ball or $1 million, which they spent all of. No, nothing.
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. I had $1 million, but I spent it all.
I wasn't going to take the bait, Bill. I was like, he's gonna sing it. I'm not. No.
Oh, you're no fun. But some of the Cubans, some of the Cubans in Miami were very deep into things like Santeria, and they're deeply religious. Miami has a dark history with the occult, and I'll give you a, a couple of brief examples. Going back hundreds of years, lots of genocide there happened there with the Spanish killing off Seminole tribes. The Cape Florida Lighthouse on Key Biscayne is one of the most haunted lighthouses in the U.S. because it was the site of many ferocious battles in the 1800s between the U.S. and the Seminole tribes. The Seminoles didn't want the lighthouse there, and they even destroyed it once, but it was rebuilt. And you can see why they wouldn't want it there, because what are lighthouses? They are beacons to let people know where to go. And they didn't want it. They didn't want the.
I want more of you assholes
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Santeria came to Cuba from Africa by slave ships, and it got big there, and obviously found its way into Miami. In 1974, a Miami newspaper reported that hospitals had treated 700 demonic possessions in a month in 1974. Ironically enough, just the year after The Exorcist was released.
Were they sprinkling holy water on these people? Were they, the power of Christ compels you?
I don't know how a regular hospital would treat a demonic possession.
I would think that you would just be sent to,
A church?
no, I mean that I would think they'd send you to the psych ward.
Yeah,
If
probably.
that's how they would do that. They'd be like, yeah,
Mental
let's just
asylum.
put you in a white padded room for a while.
Yeah. Some people believe that hell is beneath Miami and that the devil lives there. Cubans who believe in
I
the
thought the devil went down to Georgia.
well, he would have to go up to Georgia from Florida,
True.
but he doesn't like to talk about that because he got his ass kicked in a fiddle contest by a hick. Cubans who believe in the occult believe that there's a demonic possession, or a demonic presence there named La Llorona that feeds on the souls of children. I mean, there's people down there that take that shit very seriously, even today.
I'm sure they do.
But the teacher, I need a new coil for my vape. But the teachers and staff at the academy were in on it too. Not all of them. Um, Not all of the people there were gang goons. Some were just local people, and like I said, lots of Cubans are deeply into this stuff. And I'm sure that some of them were just decent people who didn't like the abuse that was going on, so they helped the kids do something to take their mind off of it. But what they didn't tell the kids was that they were playing with fire. Once again, I need to clarify, this is what the witnesses reported. Um, after, although after the incident, all of the teachers denied showing the kids how to do these occult practices. Before too long, most of the kids were messing with the occult in one way or another, trying to get good at it. But these kids were vulnerable. They had been brainwashed, constantly abused, living in fear, and were subservient to their captors at the academy. They had so much compartmentalized anger as well. So this isn't your average person trying to experiment with something spooky just for shits and giggles. This is hundreds of kids all messing with it, with their minds ripe for the picking, and literally a ticking time bomb, or according to some, susceptible to mass demonic possession. On top of the scandals I mentioned earlier, it was also reported that the general knowingly let a kid that in to the school that had committed murder. It was also reported that the general himself also regularly practiced the dark side of Santeria. Kids found dead goats and chickens on the grounds of the academy, not to mention burnt pennies, which are used in spell rituals. There's white Santeria and there's black Santeria, just like there's white magic and black magic. Um, Also, the cadets found chicken bones bound together and placed intentionally in random places to be found. And this is a sign that a blood sacrifice had been made, and the blood was used in a ritual. This is when the cadets started learning the practice. Sacrifices are done. Sacrifices are done in black Santeria for the purpose of curses. But we should also mention that this whole event takes place during spooky season. Halloween was just 6 days away. 6 days awake.
I would love
You
Halloween
know,
6 days a week.
I would probably go a little nuts and crazy and see things if I was 6 days awake.
Yeah, most people do. I think they say you're like legally insane after 48 hours or something like that. 72 without sleep.
Damn. I don't think I've gone more than 36 hours without sleep ever. But so 6 days away was Halloween. So add that to all the things that are leading up to this clusterfuck. You know, with people in general were all freaking out, because a couple scary movies made people think Satan was everywhere, combined with all the trauma that these kids lived day in and day out. This went with the beliefs that the veil between the dead and the living was the thinnest around Halloween. On the night of October 24th, 1979, the night before the incident, lots of students threw a party. There was a lot of trauma bonding and being there for each other. But this is also when the majority of the kids who weren't messing with the occult all got into it. So they began doing rituals together in one huge group. Some using tarot cards, some using Ouija boards, some using spirit boards, and some even playing Bloody Mary. And all these things being done
Oh my
together.
God. I used to do that at parties. You're doing that at a
I've
party?
never done that before.
Oh my God. That was the one of the little games you used to play to scare each other, or light as a feather, stiff as a board. Do you ever do that one?
Mhm. No,
Really?
I kind of um stay I kind of stay away from you know the occult. I mean, it was pretty much drilled into my head as a kid that how evil that stuff was, and you know even though I've basically moved on from the bullshit that I was taught as a kid, some of the things stay with you, you know.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I
But
I used to
but
play with the Ouija board and stuff like.
yeah, but it was all these things were being done together in one huge group, and they all felt like they were reclaiming their lives together with all these occult practices. Not to mention there was a lot of noobs that had never messed with it before that night. Whatever happened, they all knew that they were reaching out to what they believed to be the dead and or demons. And put a knife in that. um, some people believe that all of this activity opened a portal to hell. Three girls went into the bathroom to try to summon Bloody Mary. And of course, nothing ever happens until something actually does. According to witnesses, something actually did happen, and the girls freaked out and told everybody. Tensions began to grow, and fights began breaking out. And everything calmed down, and the cadets went to bed. But everything that had happened the night before was still front and foremost in their minds. Fear and paranoia in every single one of them. The class where the whole thing started, when the girl ran out of screaming out of the class, where it, that's where a teacher had been teaching these occult practices. So the cadets still extremely spooked about what had happened the night before. It really didn't take much to ignite the chaos on the 25th. But the the kids were all on edge, and the teacher in this class decided that she wanted to try to calm the cadets down, and came up with an idea. Take a guess.
Let's all do an Ouija board now, kids. Let's sacrifice a chicken. What are we doing?
You're not far off. Um, she wanted to hypnotize them with a regression session. She was not a licensed therapist who could use hypnosis properly. She was a hypnotist hobbyist. So what could go wrong?
Ah, yeah, nothing. It's all good.
Yeah, the girl who ran screaming out of the class was one of the ones who had played Bloody Mary. She was the one who saw something and went screaming out of the bathroom the night before, and got everybody all worked up. The teacher insisted that she undergo hypnosis right there in the classroom, and she broke out the necklace or whatever it was and began, swinging it back and forth in front of the girl's face. But the girl didn't want to do it, but the teacher kept insisting. Some people speculate the reason that the girl resisted was because there was a demon inside her that was making her resist the regression hypnosis and drove her crazy. Which, regardless, the girl eventually gave in. This was what made the girl freak out and bolt out of the class. But she thought that there was something attacking her, and she completely lost it. And that obviously made the other cadets in the class very scared. And boom, we've got a riot.
Oh,
Friends follow her to the bathroom, and this is when she starts saying the devil inside her, the devil inside. NXS song. That's a good song. I like the NXS. They're a good band. But and this was also when she allegedly levitated. This transfers to her friends, and all hell broke loose. And people speculate that
figuratively, literally.
yeah, people speculate that many demons had come through the gates of hell there. As a bishop in the Holy Nicolean Catholic Church, um, who says that he's
Napoleon, you said?
Nicholean, Nicolean.
Oh, okay. I thought for a minute I thought you said Napoleon, and I'm like, like the
Was
French general?
was he a Catholic?
I don't know. He
But
wasn't actually that short, though.
I know he was like 5'7". But a bishop was interviewed who says that he's performed over 100 exorcisms, and they all unfold in a pattern similar in what he calls as the stages of demonic possession. Um, Stage one is identification. In the first
Oh.
stage, he says that someone won't be able to tell if their problem is physical, mental, or spiritual. Um, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't be able to know the difference between anxiety, depression, or something spiritual. So in those cases, it's best just to keep your spiritual life healthy. You know, just go see a doctor. Stage two is escalation. In the second stage, someone's symptoms get stronger and harder to explain away. This is where you see a lot of suicidal ideation, night terrors, demons, and a loss of reality. Stage three is demonic obsession. Um, that's that's when you rule out anything being physically wrong with you. Um, basically, if you get to that point, then you just need to speak with a doctor or a psychiatrist. And then stage four,
I think most people that say I'm possessed do need to speak to a psychiatrist.
true. Stage four is demonic oppression. Um, this is very rare, and people start exhibiting exaggerated forms. God, ah, exhibiting exaggerated forms of symptoms typical to possession. The ability to speak in languages they never studied, superhuman strength, clairvoyance. Their pupils change shape. They have a disdain for religious or blessed objects. Um, and sometimes they even, according to this um, priest, you see like levitation and things like that. But these kids all went through all four phases very quickly, and it was just a snowball effect of horror. But put a knife in that. Now, I also want to say this account of the incident is what was reported by the people who were there. I just don't want people saying, he believes all this shit. And, well, this is what was reported. The girls in the bathroom thought that the girl was having a seizure when her eyes rolled back into her head, but this is when the levitation allegedly happened. The teacher heard the cries from the bathroom and she went to investigate. She saw the girl levitating and then bolted away from the academy. She just, out. I'm out. I'm gone. See ya.
Oh, look, it's me. Peace out.
Yeah. But when they finally tracked her down, she, of course, denied performing hypnosis on the girl.
Didn't seem like the general would care, right? I mean,
No, but we'll get back to him, too.
maybe the law would care. I don't know.
This is going a hell of a lot faster than I thought it was. I mean, we're not like close to wrapping it up yet, but we're a lot. It's going around. It's going a lot faster than I thought it would. But the girls freaked out, and the levitation would, or maybe we're just getting better, at getting through them faster. Who knows?
I think we are.
The girls freaked out, and the levitation was just the beginning of what would unfold very quickly. But when they began running through the school, screaming and breaking things, it quickly ignited all the rage, all the pent up rage that the other cadets had after being abused into submission. Plus, the majority of them were still spooked about what happened the night before. Everybody lost their minds and believed that the devil had come for the entire school. The witnesses' accounts remind me of the scenes in the Evil Dead movies where it's coming for you, and you know it's coming, but you can't see it.
Oh,
That's kind of what it reminded me of.
the camera work,
Yeah.
yeah.
Army of Darkness is the best one.
This is my boomstick. Klaatu, Verada, Nick. Did you say the words? Yeah, I said them. I mean, maybe not every single little syllable, but for the most part, I said them.
Thou hast doomed us all.
But bonus points if you know the original movie that Klaatu, Verada, Nikto was from.
I know what it was. I know.
Do you?
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yes, with Gort.
Yep. The original one. Not that
Yes, the
stupid
black and white.
remake. Yeah, not that
No,
stupid
I
remake.
didn't watch the remake. I
I,
got the.
I did because I heard how stupid it was, and I was not disappointed by how stupid it was because it was every bit as stupid as I thought it was going to be, and even more so.
Fair.
But the cadets on the second story obviously had no clue what had happened on the bathroom floor on the first floor. But we all do have a bit of a sixth sense when something's wrong, and like I said, everybody was freaked out about what happened the night before. But this is when the two boys began fighting, and minutes later, the entire classroom was fighting, and one of them went through the window and it spilled out into the halls. The boy who went through the window just jumped up like he had tripped over a shoelace. And the man who came up to help him was Mr. McKinley. the you know he was very big and very muscular, and he couldn't subdue the boy who was much smaller. I guess he didn't have Big Ben with him that time.
Couldn't swing the cricket bat.
Like I mentioned in the possession stages, superhuman strength is part of possession. But once that happened, it was on, and all the cadets went ape shit. Some were destroying and assaulting, while others were running for their lives. When the police got there, it had spilled out all over the campus. Kids who were not possessed were running to the cops begging for help, while the ones who were just wreaking havoc. Some kids were banging on windows trying to get out because they didn't want to go out into the halls because it was Lord of the Flies was happening out there. The first responders tried to find somebody in charge, and they were looking for the general. The general was not in his office. The general who was entrusted with the well-being of these cadets had bolted like a coward.
Wow. Like a coward or like a smart person? I'm I'm sure he wasn't very well liked, and if students at your school are going batshit crazy, I don't know, maybe I'd be like, "Oh, I better run now."
I don't know. um, I kind of, before I got to that part in the research, I kind of got to thinking that he would have tried to handle it himself and be a hero. He seemed like that type of personality to me. So I don't know.
I don't know. Everyone's a hero until you're
It's,
faced with something where you're like, "Oh shit," and then you're not a hero anymore.
you loved me once, yeah, but you got real ugly. um, no, you found me beautiful once, but you got real ugly.
Yeah.
The cadets who were able to talk to the first responders were all saying that the devil was loose on the academy and that they were all possessed. They also told that the majority of them had been learning about the occult. And that's also when the police learned about how much of an abusive prick the general and his staff were. They even found Big Ben in an office. So they weren't lying about Big Ben. They searched the entire campus and none of the administrators were there. They had all bolted. By noon, it had ended, and the kids had started getting back to normal as they could be. More and more kids began telling about the abuse that was their daily lives, but the media had gotten wind of the demonic possession aspect of it, and the and that's what led to that's was the lead story the next day. You have headlines like "Hypnotism brings out demons," a Ouija riot baffles police. The AP got a hold of the story and it went nationwide, and the New York Times even ran it. Parents of the kids were obviously pissed, and they came and got their kids. Several teachers quit on the spot, but the story, like all TTI stories, was swept under the rug. It was gone from the media in a week, and the general, once he had surfaced again, he called the incident a smear campaign against him. He swore it was his enemies who set the whole thing into motion.
His enemies,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
children that he services. What?
What enemies? Castro?
Oh,
I mean, nobody in Miami had anything against him other than the cadets. And like I said before, if the cadets had come forward, they wouldn't have been believed. But the scandals at the Miami Aerospace Academy continued into the 80s. Like I mentioned earlier, rape by male cadets on female cadets, the cadet who got pregnant, and the others as well. The general was supposed to hold a press conference to explain anything or everything. He did hold the conference, but all he did was deflect and he didn't explain anything.
maybe he didn't feel like he could explain other
Yeah.
than to just say, "It's my enemies."
So after the Aerospace Academy was shut down, he opened a car insurance company. No, he didn't. Uh,
The
that would have been
general.
funny. That would have been funny if that actually was him.
Let's go to the general and save some time.
Yeah, he would be getting he'd be getting a lot of phone calls after listening to this episode. After people hear this episode, the general had lost everything. He had lost the building because so many students had been pulled from there, and the general relocated the academy to a shitty hotel, a cheap hotel that was later condemned.
Nice.
and the academy was permanently closed in 1988.
Mm.
But the general died in 2009. The incident faded from memory, but after Michelle remembers, people remembered the brief news stories. In their minds, this was documented proof legitimizing Michelle remembers. Some people think it was a hoax put on by the cadets. That isn't true at all. There's no way that you could, there's no way that this plan was organized just to get back at the general.
I wouldn't say there was no way. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a bunch of students conspiring to do something to make a scene at a certain time.
Like
I
flash
mean, I don't
mobs.
know. I mean, because it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, if you said, okay, you're going to run out of the classroom at 3 o'clock, and then you're going to scream, and then y'all are going to run out, about 3:05, and then this teacher is going to do this, and
Yeah,
then we're going to start fighting at this time. I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like it could have been coordinated.
could have been, but
If
probably wasn't.
I don't know, I don't know. I
But
mean,
I
it's
mean, a
the
lot there have been like instances at some of these various troubled teen industry camps where the students just basically rose up and said "fuck you." I mean,
oh yeah.
it's not unprecedented, but I don't think that's what happened here.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I get if the teachers were trying to teach this occult stuff, maybe that was a perfect reason for the kids to use that as like an excuse to riot. They say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. I mean, I don't know. It's 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 not beyond possibility that it could have been an organized thing among students and maybe even among some of the staff members. Because if they were teaching this shit to the kids or they were doing whatever, they're clearly questionable too. So,
Yeah, but some say it was mass demonic possession. Some say it was mass hysteria, and I say it's both. It's both. And before I explain what I mean, um, I personally have had an experience with mass hysteria.
mm,
Um, I was 18, and so this wasn't as a result. This isn't linked to my childhood, you know. But I was 18, and I ran with a group of friends who were all about the same age, and we go hang out at various places. And there was this large hill over the river that was rumored to be a haunted Indian burial ground. We'd go hang out there at night, and we'd unintentionally freak each other out by telling various stories that we'd heard about the place. Now, before too long, we were making things up, and that's when we began seeing things move. Shadows. We heard drums. We heard arrows whiz by and stick into trees. And suddenly, one of the guys who had gone to take a piss screamed, and he came back yelling, "They're coming!" We followed him, you know, or like who? And he said they had seen demons and they were coming for us. We got to our cars and we hauled ass out of there, all of us swearing that we saw them at the top of the hill as we drove off. Years later, we realized that we had made ourselves
susceptible.
that that word to suggestion, and we had spooked ourselves to the point to where we made ourselves hallucinate. So did we experience this? Yes, we did. Was it real? It was to us.
Well, I mean, it definitely the power of suggestion is amazing. I mean, when I was a child, I mean, I was Catholic. Um and I know there was I maybe it was like 12. I can't remember how old I was, but they had a speaker at the church who was supposed to be able to deliver the Holy Spirit. You know one of those people that touch your forehead, people collapse,
Yeah,
all that stuff, and it was I mean, at that time in my life, I was very yeah, I very much believed in God. I mean, I was a religious, child. I mean, I very much believed that it was true. And this sermon, I guess, or whatever that he gave. I mean, I believe it was probably at least 3 hours. I mean, it was not a short thing. I mean, he was up there talking this whole time and everything. And I remember this entire time, I was praying and begging, I was like, I want to feel the Holy Spirit. I just what I want to feel the presence of God. It was praying that he would come to me and everything. And I remember this very clearly. I mean, I went up to the stage, because everyone was going up to the stage. And I remember when he touched my forehead, I, I swear to God, it felt like something entered my forehead, went through my body, and exited like out through my feet. And I did collapse. I did. And looking back on it now with a different perspective, I can think to myself and say that it, what was it, a religious experience? I mean, I would have sworn up and down that
Right.
yes, it was. That yes, the Holy Spirit entered me, and I could tell you exactly how it felt. Even now, I can picture how it felt and how it was. But with a different perspective now, I can say I sat there and listened to an extremely long sermon with a man who supposedly could do this. I had watched other people go before me and had collapsed. I'd been feverishly praying for this for hours. And it goes along with hypnotism and suggestion.
Right.
And I've been hypnotized. I've allowed myself to be hypnotized later on, and it's worked because the power of suggestion is a very strong thing. So even nowadays, as someone who had one of those experiences, I can look back on it and say, I'm pretty sure there was a rational explanation for what I felt and how and what I experienced. But it, if I'd remained an extremely religious person, which I'm not now, but I mean, if I would have, God, you couldn't have convinced me that that wasn't some
Right. Well,
serious experience.
it's just like the people in the churches that speak in tongues.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
deep down is, I mean, you know, it, it's group speak. That's all it is.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And
but they train their kids. They say we're going to speak in tongues now. I mean, they ingrain that into you
oh
from
yeah,
a very young age, and
I know,
it's yeah.
I know all about it. But it's just group speak. And there were times when when I was a kid, I was actually doing it, and and I can remember even back then thinking to myself, I don't feel anything. I'm just going, you know. But like my mom, she 100% believed that the Lord was speaking through her in a different language, but she had the same, basically a paragraph that she had put together, and she just repeated that. So it was the same thing that she said every single time. And I kind of noticed that people that were sitting around me, I started listening to them too. Everybody had their own little paragraph that they repeated verbatim over and over and over again. So,
Mm,
and it's just like, if God is speaking through just talking about this, this one thing, this one paragraph over and over again, it's like,
mm.
what's the point of doing that? I
Do
mean,
you have
what
anything else to say?
right? Do you have? I mean, it just. I was.
I know it is, and it is, and so definitely it's one of these things where, yeah, I guess it could have been coordinated by the kids, or if they were experiencing all this and deeply ingrained, almost being brainwashed into believing all this stuff, then I could 100% believe that those kids believed that they were possessed.
Yeah.
I
So,
mean, for sure, 100%.
but that's what I meant when I said it was both. I mean, these cadets could have believed everything was happening due to their damaged minds from all of the horrific abuse they were enduring. You have high levels of stress, a cohesive group. They were united against a common enemy and united against, united by the occult to cope with the situation.
Hmm.
They also likely all decided that enough was enough, and it was time for them to get revenge on their oppressors. And that's a recipe for both mass hysteria and for demonic possession. And they could have believed that they saw the girl levitating the same way my friends and I believed we saw demons on top of the hill.
Yeah,
I mean, the superhuman strength can be explained by adrenaline. I mean, we've all heard stories of a mother lifting a car off of her kid.
right.
So that's what I mean when I say it's actual both. Am I open to the possibility that possession by demons, by actual demons, is real? And all I can say on that is maybe. I'm not closed minded to it, but maybe.
In my old age, I've become very much a skeptic, very
I am
much.
too. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
saying maybe.
well, I mean, I guess to me, to say the maybe, then I would have to say that I believed that demons existed, and
Hmm.
I don't. Kind of in the same way that I don't believe unicorns and Sasquatch and you know, leprechauns are running around, stealing Lucky Charms and shit. You know,
I don't know. I mean, I do know that I do know that I've seen a ghost.
and again, I could swear that I've experienced paranormal things. I would swear that I've had some strange things happen in my life that are hard to give an explanation to, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I think to myself, just because I don't have a rational explanation now doesn't mean that I should come up with a supernatural thing to explain it away. Like
Well,
that's kind of my thing. I'm like,
one night my ex-wife and I were sitting there watching a movie, and and both the both of us at the exact same time looked down the hallway, and we both had said that we had seen things in that house. And I said, she was opening her mouth to say something. I said, don't say anything. I said, write it down. So we both wrote down what we had seen, and we both wrote down a little boy. So I mean, and I did some digging on the history of that house, and it turned out that a little boy that was like 6 or 7 years old had died there.
I mean, I had some weird stuff happen when I was in college. I was in a dorm that renovated, so it was newer, but I swore that there was one day that I was in the bathroom. It was a communal bathroom, and there were showers behind, and there were sinks on one side and toilets and showers kind of on the other side of this bathroom. And I was in the bathroom and I was alone. There was nobody else there. And I was at the sink and I was brushing my teeth or doing something, I can't remember. But I heard a shower curtain open and I heard footsteps next to me. And I turned and I looked and there was nobody there. And I went, hello? But I felt like there was someone there. Then I felt like this, whatever it was, followed me back to my room. Now, kind of fast forward, I had a lot of people come into my room and say that they felt like there was something there. And unprompted, I always said that it was for me, I said it felt like that whatever was there didn't like men because this was an all female dorm. I had a male friend come into my room once and say, "There's something here that doesn't want me here." And and again, like these are people that I didn't say anything to, and it was just weird. And I remember one day I left, like I wasn't really disturbed by it because I don't know, I didn't feel like it was anything bad, but I came back. I was out and I came back and my roommate was in the common area and she saw me come up and she's like, "Oh my God, you're back. I don't want to go back in that room alone." And
Oh
I said,
man.
"Why?" I'm like, "Why don't you want to go back in the room alone? Like, what's the matter?" And she's like, and like, she was terrified. I said, "What happened?" And she said, "You know how you have all those like things on the wall, like scrolls. I had like anime scrolls and stuff, but I had a bunch of things like tacked into the wall and posters and stuff. Like I just had stuff up on the wall. And she's like, I was sitting there and I was doing some work, and all of a sudden, every single one of your posters and scrolls and things on the wall just all came down
Oh, damn.
like at once. And she said she ran out of the room. She was terrified. And I came back in the room, and sure enough, like all my shit was off the wall. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I said, I don't, I said, I just let you know that if there is something here, I don't think it's malicious. I think it's just mischievous. I said,
Right.
I don't get malice. I get mischief. I said, so don't worry about it. It's okay. But she swears that it was like one after the other, just everything. She freaked out.
Damn. I mean, but me saying maybe or whatever. I mean, if I'm going to sit here and say that I know that I've seen a ghost, which I do, then if I'm accepting that they're real, then I have to be open to the possibility that demons might be real too.
Uh, I, I'm I'm not convinced that any of that is real. I'm so for me it's kind of like you know I I'm not convinced any of that's true.
Hmm. That's fine. But Wikipedia has a list of many mass hysteria events dating back centuries, and I'm going to talk about a more recent one that's similar to what we have here. Although for some reason this one is not listed on that Wikipedia page. But every year, first year students at Yanagawa High School in Japan go on an excursion to nearby Mount Hiko as part of their
Mhm.
studies, and in the past surrounding the area, including the large Aburagi, a Burgi.
It'd be a hard G. It'd be like Abaruki.
Okay, but the Aburagi Dam has been rumored to be inhabited by the spirit of a headless girl. Some people are hypoth- some people,
Hypothesize.
yeah, that one that one of the high school students became possessed by the ghost during her class's recent trip, and it came home with her when they returned. The girl freaked out and started screaming and then passed out, and then all the other girls did the same thing. So,
See,
so
and that I can make the same joke I made before. That's not a way to get ahead in life.
oh man, my daughter is in the shower singing the "Rah Rah Rasputin" song.
Rah, rah, Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. But the Kaiser Chuck, he does really wunderbar.
That's pretty random. So, but that's it. That's the story. So any final thoughts?
Ah, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it was either they coordinated this or
Mass
it
hysteria.
was a mass hysteria, power of suggestion type thing. Um, definitely.
But I kind of say it's both because it was definitely real to them, and
Yeah.
the events did happen, and it was definitely real to them. So, and that's kind of like how I look at, people say, oh, creationism is real. Creationism is how it goes, and blah blah blah. And other people say, no, it's science, and I'm like, it's both. you know, and they're the same. It's but yeah, I've been saying that for years, but it's just I don't know. I came across this subject and I was just like, yeah, I think that's worth kind of test the waters, see how well the episode does. I think people are going to dig this episode, to be honest with you. So yeah, we might.
Well, we'll see.
We're not gonna become we're not gonna become just like a spooky start talking about hauntings and stuff like that. We're not going there, but
Woo.
but
I see. I still love all that shit, though. I mean, I watch all that. The ghost hunter. Not. I mean, I still eat it up. I mean, I'll be honest. Even if I think it's bullshit, I still like watching it. I still love going to haunted places. Like
oh
it's
sure,
you
but
know.
I mean the there's just the ghosts and everything like that. I mean, to me, but I mean, if you go on Instagram and scroll through the pictures that I have on the Instagram page, you'll find one list of like things that we swore we'd never do on CKCB that turned out to be lies, and there's like 7 of them. Like first, it was just like we'll never have guests on the episodes.
uh,
Ano-
Liar.
Another one was we'll never do 2-part episodes,
Liar.
and then another one was we'll never do 3-part episodes.
You'd just be lying to your
Uh,
listeners the whole time.
well, I mean, those things that we said that we would do or never do or whatever. That just when the podcast was really young and stuff like that. So I said we'll never do unsolved cases. Well, we've done one, but but anyway, I thought this was interesting, and if this episode does as well as I think that it does, and it might do. I mean, we're already going to do a gradual series on the Satanic Panic because I mean that's a topic that
Hmm.
has always fascinated me. Yeah, because I lived through it, and I
Right.
was and that was a very big part of my life as a kid because of how I was raised. So so
Yeah.
that topic fascinates me. So we might do more of these. Now we're going to bring in Sandra's husband, Doug, to do the beer of the week segment. How's it going, Doug? What do you got for us this week?
Gone all right, Bill. So for today, last time we did a few lighter beers. The Cold Nose Duke's Cold Nose Brown Ale was the last one, so it was lighter on my end. So I'm gonna switch back up and go back to the darker side of things and whatnot, considering the subject of today's podcast and whatnot. So going back to the dark side.
Yeah, this is a dark
So
one.
yeah, super dark for a super dark story. So today, back in Tampa, a brewery called Ology Brewing. They did a very small release, and I say small release because the actual can it comes in is a very small can.
Damn.
Yeah, it is a very small can of this, not 12 ounces. I think this is an 8-ounce can, but it is called Cosmic Fudge. So from Ology Brewing, this is an 11% sweet milk stout. So it is super dark, super sweet. It is milk stout with marshmallow, walnuts, and cocoa nibs. All right, so yeah, this thing is, again, like most of the ones I review on here, is going to pour like motor oil. So
that
so
sounds
we'll
more that sounds more like something that you would get at a Starbucks.
yeah, it is super dark. Not much head on it, which is understandable considering the type of beer it is. But I mean, yeah, light is not penetrating that.
No.
So yeah, I have been to Ology a few times. Their location, they have two, one in Tampa and I believe one in Jacksonville or Pensacola. It's North Florida somewhere is their original location. The location they're in Tampa used to be owned by Angry Chair Brewing. Angry Chair outgrew the space and moved to a much larger location. So Ology moved in to their old location, but pretty nice small brewery. Much larger location up north, but again, that is the beer. Again, very dark, sweet milk stout. Let's give her a taste. Oh, that is nice. Definitely a dessert style beer. So if you're looking for something definitely on the sweeter side and something for dessert, I would highly recommend this. I've had this before a few times, but very dark, very sweet. And again, 11% on the ABV. As far as a rating goes, because it is a small batch, it was not on Beer Advocate. They did not have a rating on Beer Advocate. However, a few people did review it, and it got a 3.9 and I believe a 3.8 out of 5 on the reviews from individual folks.
That's not bad.
Me personally, I would probably give it about a 4.2, 4.4. If it had a little bit more head on it, it would be a little bit better in my opinion. But no, this is a solid dark dessert beer. Leaving a little bit of the residue on the glass there, as you can see, and whatnot. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very solid milk stout for us today. And again, on the darker side, considering the subject matter and whatnot, wanted to go back to something super dark for a super dark story.
It was that for sure. But when you have these milk brews or whatever, how does the milk not curdle?
So it's lactose, I guess, is the best way to say it. It's not necessarily milk; it's lactose, but from the flavor profile and whatnot, so it makes it thicker and whatnot. But yeah, it's the lactose that they add to it, not necessarily milk.
Okay.
So it just rolls off the tongue a lot easier. Imperial milk stout opposed to imperial lactose stout. So
somebody who's lactose intolerant would have a problem with that?
Probably yes. That's why it is labeled milk and whatnot. But yeah, someone that is lactose intolerant possibly could have an issue with this. So good. But yeah, that is my beer of the week. Again, Cosmic Fudge from Ology Brewing, a small batch that they did, located here in Tampa, Florida. So, but if you want me to review a beer, that ckcbeer@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'll try and find it. We have several locations: ABC Liquor, Total Wine, etc. around here. I can probably find it. Or if you have something you want to send me, I'm happy to receive free beer and review it for you on the show.
Anyway, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We appreciate the hell out of it. Hell. See what I did there? Please subscribe, follow the YouTube page, comment, follow us wherever you stream your podcast and everything. Apple, Spiderfy,
Spotify.
Spiderfy. I like that better. Or iHeart or whatever. And please
Not
be sure to leave
TikTok.
us. Yeah. Well, not TikTok, not for now anyway. I think it's going to be back. But please be sure to leave us a 5-star rating. It really sucks because I was literally just about to, when all this went down, I was literally about to start a TikTok page for the show. But,
well, you may still have an opportunity at some point.
I think it'll be back. Too many people make big money off of TikTok for that to just go away. But anyway. Please be sure to leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps grow the show, but what helps the most is word of mouth. So if you like us, tell a friend. And if you hate us, tell somebody that you hate. And until next week, later.
Cheers.
Bye.